First of all, you don't know me.
We're all about that high school drama girl, all about them high school queens. We'll take you for a ride in our comic girl, cheering for the right team. Drama queens, smart girl, rough girl, fashion but you're tough girl. You could sit with us, girl. Drama queens, drama queens, drama queens, drama queens, drama queens.
Guys, we did it. We survived last week's traumatic death. We are back in the full, crowded, Tree Hill, sports-oriented, big, huge, epic scene kind of episodes.
And we cried happy tears.
Yeah. We did.
Everybody
cry
just
happy
needed
tears.
We did.
Yeah, we did. I totally did.
Yeah.
Brooke doing that robot just made me so happy, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Oh my gosh. Okay, so here, guys, it's season 3, episode 14, All Tomorrow's Parties. Brooke, Peyton, and Haley head to New York, all the 3 of us in a car again together. It was so sweet and fun. So they go there for Rogue Vogue and then off to Charlotte for the classic. But Brooke stays behind and makes an important decision about her future. Lucas and Nathan reconnect with a family friend, and Skills learns how to swim from Bevan. And Karen asks Keith a big question. David Paymer directed this one, and Lotto wrote this. Wow, this was really fun. Mm-hmm. I liked this one.
I like the balance of last week's episode of really intimate conversations and this week's episode of us all being together. The basketball team, the cheerleading squad, all the parents. Yeah. And there was no Dan in this episode. Didn't it feel gentle?
Yes, it was so nice. We didn't have to be worrying about some creeper lurking around every corner.
Yeah, what a relief. Because like Karen and Keith could finally enjoy themselves, except not really.
Whitey.
But
Whitey is a cute foil.
Right.
He's fun coming in their room and being like, oh, look, truffles, and eating their chocolate. And you're just like, oh, man, these 2 can't go on a date. It's not like, oh, man, someone's trying to kill one of them. It's a different vibe.
It's a different vibe.
I love Brooke's storyline in this episode.
Brooke got a full 90s rom-com episode.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for Matthew McConaughey or Cameron Diaz to show up somewhere.
I think we all would have loved it if Matthew McConaughey
really
showed
loved
up.
that.
Would have been very pleasing. Instead, it was just our friend Sam playing a total creepo. Sam Robinson is a local actor in Wilmington, and he's who played that totally weird guy in the turtleneck. Which is, it's unfortunate because he really is such a cool guy and a buddy of ours from the improv comedy scene, but he played a real creeper.
I don't know if I ever met him in real life. So
Sam was great.
Sam hung out at level 5, babe.
Oh.
Sam did this thing though, because clearly he was playing such a creep that he changed his voice.
Oh, yeah.
Can you believe Brooke Davis gave up all of this? He did this horrible thing, which I actually really appreciated because he was like, oh, if I'm going to be gross, I'm really going to go for it. And it made me feel better that he didn't sound like himself.
I loved it. We had so many good theater actors in Wilmington, so it was fun when they would show up in our series. Because we get to get excited about them. Wait a second. Didn't Sam also play the guy that gave Brooke Davis the drugs in season 1?
Yes, in season 1. He's the sports trainer.
He is?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. It's like all those old shows like Lucy and the Dick Van Dyke Show where they would just recycle actors. They would come back for different parts every season.
But you guys, this is a full cycle storyline because in season 1, when the sports trainer gives Brooke Davis the pills, she takes them and is very messy that night. But season 3, Brooke Davis is like, no, hugs, not drugs. I don't want those things. And they're both offered by the same guy. Whoa.
Wild.
Meta.
Mind blown. So
I guarantee you no one else thought as deeply about that as us. The casting director's like, I don't know, just call Sam.
Yeah, Sam will do it. This is it, though. This is what happens when you make something. You go, ooh, look at that. Mm-hmm. You see the connections. You're just more invested.
Hilarie, you're such a fun drunk and hungover.
Are we talking about real life or are we talking about...
Both, babe.
Because the last time I was hungover, it was with one Sophia Bush.
Yeah,
you guys get me in trouble, man.
we're fun. I have to say it made me feel so nostalgic because there are 3 iconic images from our show that all come from this episode. The 3 of us hugging at the edge of the stage at Rogue Vogue.
Yeah.
Hilarie, you in those freaking aviators looking so cool. And there's the gif that's like, you can't see my eyes, but under my sunglasses, or like, you can't see it, but under my sunglasses, I'm rolling my eyes at you.
Yeah.
And then the 3 of us like doing the robot and the can at the end.
God.
I just was like,
so
oh my
cute.
God, some of our best moments all come from this episode. And I loved it.
That's what made me cry, is watching the last scene where we're all just dancing and being, irreverent and 17 and impulsive and like all those things that you don't get to be as an adult. And you set the table really, really nicely for the lead up to this episode. Like, Brooke's story is great so that Haley and Peyton, we get to just be teenagers. You're like flirting with your boyfriend, like, let's take a bath together. Haley's being all flirty and young, and Peyton's being messy and young. And Brooke has to decide, am I going to be young? Like, do I even get to pick what kind of young I want to be? Or do I have to go be a grown-up now?
I love that you spotted the differences in and the thread between all of our storylines. And it just goes to show that there is so much thought that's put into those things. It's not just write dialogue, put people in situations. It's how do we tie all these things together,
Yeah.
I
and
love
especially because we're all dealing with pretty grown-up stuff. Haley and Nathan are putting their marriage back together. Peyton just lost Ellie, to go through a major loss. And to your point, Brooke's trying to figure out, is she ready for what's next? And it's beautiful to see these kids be kids.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a grown-up. You don't have to leave your childhood behind. And it is interesting, now that I'm thinking about what you just said, to consider the fact that it's Brooke Davis who's like, I just want to hang on to my innocence for a little while longer.
Crazy, right?
Especially considering what she had just been saying about being scared to leave high school.
Yeah.
I have to say there's a part of me that was really rooting for her to take go forward with the fashion show and just take that big risk and, move forward in life. But this time, the decision didn't feel like it was coming out of fear of leaving high school and fear of leaving it all behind. It was like, after the conversation with Daoud in the taxi, that she really understood an appreciation for what she has. And she just wanted to hold on to it a little bit longer, not out of fear of what if I can't make it, because she would have done, amazing things would have happened. Yeah. Great doors would have opened for her. So knowing that those possibilities are out there, I think maybe it gave Brooke a little more confidence to be able to make the decision to stay in high school. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that, Anne, as a writer, did such a beautiful job. It's funny to realize Anne Lotto wrote this episode and Stacy Rukeyser was our story editor.
Oh.
There is a different energy with those ladies balancing these big questions that these young women are asking themselves. And what I loved was, Daoud, and by the way, what a shout out
give
to
us
Brian
that
George.
story.
Like, you guys, Brian George showing up and me just being like, Seinfeld was so cool.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, for the kids
Tell
at
me
home
stories.
who are like 12 years old, who don't know Seinfeld, lay it out for them, because it was a geek out moment to have him come. We got
for
good guest
sure.
stars.
Yeah, it's like to get someone from one of your favorite comedies of all time who like shows up on your set. And by the way, who's such a brilliant comedic actor. Brian George is actually a very, witty British comedian. And he came in and he played this beautiful story. And I remember, obviously it's not the same kind of relationship you had with Cheryl, but in the way that when she showed up, you felt very held.
Mm-hmm.
You had like parental energy that was safe for you, which like we just didn't have in Wilmington. Brian made me feel that way. I remember just like babbling out, compliments, and he was like, okay, all right. Well, now I'm on your show. And I was like, oh my God. Like, he was so sweet and disarming. And we spent this whole night, hanging out on Front Street, shooting it like it was New York and driving around in this cab. And in between takes, we were having conversations like Brooke and Daoud were about life and creativity and acting and, living in New York and just all these things that were so enjoyable for me. And that I think I was so hungry for as a young actor. And so I loved that the sort of sparkle we felt together came through and that his sweetness so clearly came through. And I like that these women gave you a gentle misdirect where he said, your life, time passes by so fast. Make your life great now. Start right now.
Yeah.
And you think she's going to, put it all in on her career. And she realizes what is great to her is her friends.
Yeah.
Home. And it's so special. I think that's why it made me cry looking at the three of us.
Well, I can feel it was real. Those times when we do scenes and they're real?
Yeah.
Like you were actually having a magical experience with a total stranger, but you were in a scene where you were having a magical experience with a total stranger.
Yeah.
I think we've been lucky that we've been able to be totally aware of those moments. Like when Sheryl Crow came to set and Joy got to be with Sheryl Crow and it was like, oh my God, we're doing this thing. And like, what are we doing? Like those magical moments are rare, but here we are, how many years later, and you can still feel it. It's still that tingly thing. And we weren't even in that scene. Like,
totally.
we get it.
By the way, I love that you just brought up Sheryl Crow. A friend of mine was at her show last night and tagged me in the Instagram story and was like, where are all the One Tree Hill stands at? And I was like, oh my God. And I got that same feeling.
We're here.
Totally.
It was so great.
I love that Brooke at the end because historically,
I can't stop crying, you guys.
Oh, I know, but
my eyes are just leaking.
Because you know what? You got brought on to be the comedy, the hot girl.
Yeah.
That man took you seriously. And I don't know that you felt that from a lot of adults in our space. And so for that man who you already knew and respected to come on and treat you like a professional and to take a moment with you and respect you and to have like an earnest scene,
100%.
I can see why that would be touching.
Especially as a young artist, we got bullied by a lot of the grownups that were around us. And it's very confusing to figure out what sort of respect you deserve and to look at an adult who you really respect and have that person, to your point, treat you so well, be completely non-creepy, be so supportive.
Yeah.
And, to have an actor who I grew up watching say, you're a phenomenal actor, to me was like, whoa, really? You think? I like my job a lot.
It's really fun.
Cool.
Thanks, mister.
Wow. Like it can be those experiences can be very transformative, especially when you're not in a day-to-day space that feels totally healthy to you.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask Joy if she connected with this storyline because of the three of us, it is Joy's real life that is most like Brooke's narrative because you went to New York as like a teenager to go work and had to choose between like, high school crap and also I'm going to go live on my own and like I'm going to work. I'm a teenager. I'm going to go work. Did you see yourself in that at all?
I recognized that room, the party room where they're, the girl's drugged out and somebody's hitting on you and you're way too young and, everybody's sort of like acting like this is the norm and aren't you lucky to be here with us? I've been there. And I always left. I always felt uncomfortable and like I just didn't. It was the same reaction Brooke had. Like, get your hands off of me. Stop touching me.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah. And I credit my parents, I guess it was just, they always gave me a good sense of self and groundedness so that when I was in scenarios where there was a lot of peer pressure, it didn't faze me very much. So, yeah, I mean, I recognize that, but I think also I never really felt the tug of like, oh, am I going to choose to be a high school kid and just enjoy that life, or am I going to go be an adult in New York? I was always just like, oh no, I'm out of here. Like, I'll see you guys later.
You guys have fun at prom. I'm out.
Bye. Yeah, 100%. So I love that Brooke in the end, because also I was going to say this, historically, Brooke would have been the person with when the routine went wrong and somebody screwed up. Mm-hmm. I think Brooke historically would have been the person that got really frustrated and didn't know what to do and like was just, because she wanted it to all be perfect. And so I loved that she just let go and she was like, I'm going to lead by example here. I'm stepping out and I'm just going to take a hold of what I want and embrace what I came here to do, which is not to win a competition. I came here to be a kid for as long as I can right now. So let's do it. Oh, it made me cry immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we just turned 40, Soph and I woke up the morning of my 40th birthday with a sty in my eye. And I was like, what the f*** is this? And my doctor's like, oh, it's stress related. And I'm like, you think? Cool story, man. And so all I wanted to do for my birthday was go home to my friend's parents' house and have a pool party in her yard, because the least stressful thing I could think of was having Debbie Dawson's brownies and going swimming in her backyard and sitting on a trampoline at night,
Great.
Yeah.
And
because you also had the same thing, Hill. You were in high school, but you were like getting ready to get out. You were like, how do I get to New York? How do I go?
I made the Brooke Davis decision. I went home.
Tell us.
I got an agent when I was 12 or 13 years old, and my parents would drive me from Virginia up to New York. And I would audition and I would get close on stuff, or it was just cool to be in the room for like really big auditions. Like Joy, I feel like you and I probably went up for a lot of the same stuff.
I'm sure we were. Horse Whisperer.
Girl, Star Wars. Remember when they were talking to every chick on the planet trying to find Natalie Portman's part?
Yep.
And so we went up for all these cool things and it was neat. But I was getting in trouble with the cheerleading squad because I was missing like major practices and games and things, and routines were being screwed up because I wasn't there, or I was in the school play and I would get called up for an audition. And so I had to have a meeting with my agent and say, look, I'm just going to go to college in New York, but I'm going to stop auditioning for the next 3 years. And so my sophomore year in high school, I was like, I'm not going to audition anymore. So I can gain the life experience I feel like I'm going to need to play a high schooler later, because I knew they cast 18-year-olds to play high schoolers. You had to be over 18. And hot damn if it didn't work out.
Dang it, girl. You called it.
Sometimes you got to call your shot. But
that's right.
I like that Brooke could have gone either way and it would have been a win. I feel like the fan base would have been like, yes, either way. So maybe we should do that poll. We should poll the audience and see like who thinks she should have done the fashion show and who thinks she should have come home to the Sparkle Classic.
What I love about picking the classic, though, is it at this moment in my life, looking back, it makes me realize that your decision, in real life, Brooke's decision on screen, it's about giving yourself permission to slow down. And things do go so fast. And it's like how meaningful it can be to say, no, I'm going to slow down.
It's a cocky move. It's a cocky move because you're like, you know what? I could get it now. I could get it later. I'm into it.
Yeah. Like as kids, you're like, I've got my whole future ahead of me. But as adults, I'm like, take the job.
Yeah. As adults, I'm stressing for her. I'm like, the baby. What if there's a recession?
The opportunity might not come back. But you know what's really interesting? You're right. I think it's about trusting yourself. And I trust myself now more than I did then, certainly.
Yeah.
And, I chose this summer to like chill. The three of us do this, but I'm not doing anything else. People keep asking me to do shit. And I'm like, no.
I'm going to live for a hot second.
I'm going to be home. I'm just going to be here. I'm going to have this moment. This season is so special. I just want to have this moment. Let's talk about other work stuff in September. And every once in a while, I feel that thing where I'm like, oh God, what am I doing? And then I'm like, no, I chose this choice. I chose this choice. I choose my choice.
I choose my choice.
I choose my choice. And it's great, but it takes work to say, I can slow down. Yeah. And it feels wild to go, oh man, did Brooke Davis teach me this lesson? And did it take me this long to learn it?
Well, it's clear that this is a subject matter that is near and dear to us, you know, especially when we're young women fighting for our youth. And we were really lucky that the person who wrote this episode was also a very young writer in our writer's room at that time.
That's right.
That must be why it feels so honest.
Yeah. I mean, she was just a couple years older than us. She was like a kid.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, with no further ado, we have Miss Anna Lotto here, the writer of episode 314, All Tomorrow's Parties. Let's get her in here.
Hi, team.
Hi.
Oh my gosh. Hi.
I'm so happy to see you guys.
Yay.
Oh, hi, Anna. Where are you right now? Where in the world are you?
Be very emotional for me. Okay, so I'm like, this is what I was hoping to. I was hoping to just show up at your house, Hilarie. I'm in Massachusetts. I'm in the
Get here.
So I'm
Come
like
on
an
now.
hour away from.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, you should have been here. I'm literally in my garage right now. We could have just like sweated it out together in here.
You guys have I know it's so hot. I'm also gonna look like I'm like really like sweating it, literally sweating it really bad.
You're glowing.
Don't worry,
You're glowing. So how long have you been in Massachusetts?
So I keep saying I moved 5 years ago, but at this point it's been 2015. It's like 7 years. So I was in LA from 99 till 2014. I came back when I was pregnant with my second kid. Because I was like, everyone's like, what are you gonna do for kindergarten? I was like, you know what? The easiest thing for me to do kindergarten is just move back to.
That's honestly how I felt. I was like, I'm not going to get interviewed for school. That's
it's
crazy.
a full-time job. Everyone's like, if you apply to 10 schools and you get rejected from 10, then they'll get in. I'm like, that's your plan. That's what people do for school. So I'm back in my hometown, like living that dream in my, $200,000 5-bedroom house.
Well, but by the way, that's what this whole episode is about. It's about Brooke deciding to choose her hometown over that glitzy dream. And so how did you land in LA? Like, what was the trajectory for you to start writing?
I had always wanted to, I think I really came out to LA because I loved Felicity and Buffy. Like I thought
us too.
I thought they were like art. Like I was like, and I didn't even know you could be a TV writer. Like back then you couldn't major in, you couldn't major in it in school. Like I didn't get any, like there was nothing to do in college. I just majored in English. I knew I wanted to go out to LA. I had a second cousin, like my dad's cousin lived in Venice and I like slept on his couch and got this.
That's a cool spot to land.
Kind of, but Venice was never, I was like, so east, like the more to the east side I got is like the more I Los Feliz, then Silver Lake, then Echo Park, then, so I was like, oh, this is my world. Right. So I moved away from that. And then by the time I landed on One Tree Hill, that was definitely like a huge break. And I had actually gone back for just a couple of weeks waitressing, which was like the end. I was like, I've got to do this because I haven't. And I used to like write in my mind, my own Eat True Hollywood. I'd be like, she had started, she was at the Edendale Grill working as a hostess. That was it. Because they were so competitive. They were like, we will start you one night a week hostessing. And I was like, oh my God, this is the end. So I had been to Toronto. I went to Toronto because I was born in Canada. That's a Canadian citizenship. So I was there for a minute before I came out. Did that, landed on there. It was a great atmosphere in the very beginning with that. So he was the assistant. We wrote a spec together when we were both assistants. Me and Mike Harrow wrote a thing together. We were like best buds. We had been researchers on The Weakest Link together. That was our job that we met at. Then I was promoted to writer's assistant, which is when I went in the room. So the first year I wasn't really in the room. It was like this. I didn't get to see what actually happened. We sat out and answered phones and we got to do little things. I wrote Punk and Disorderly.
Yeah, you did.
So I wrote
That's so awesome.
Like I just wrote, like every day she had a little journal entry and it was what Peyton was thinking. So I would like put a quote from a song, put who it was from, and then say, this song makes me think of, summer, like one line.
Aww.
I was thrilled to do that. I was so happy.
Yeah.
So
you were the original Twitter.
Yes, it was pre-Twitter because it was on that. By the way, that website used to be up for like a really long time.
Someone can find it. I
Yeah,
guarantee you there's a cool fan that screen grabbed the hell out of it.
Yeah.
We'll find it.
I was there for 3 years. I was as an assistant, then I was the writer's assistant. Then weirdly, so all the boys got promoted and I was in the same level as them and I did not. I got made a writer's assistant for the second year while everybody else got promoted to writer. Now, I don't know if you know, like the financial jump for that is from $700 a week to, at the time, and this is before script and before everything, to $2,500 a week.
Wow.
So all the other people who got promoted were men.
So the 2 other boys, it was John Norris and Mike Harrow and me were all assistants equal.
Yeah.
They got
promoted,
bumped up.
Yeah.
And I got left in that spot. And they actually went to the showrunner and they were like, can we give some of our salary to Anna?
Oh my God.
Like they were so like, that was so cool
Good guys.
because it is such a different, and the money is to me what comes back to why everything
money's
happened,
control.
they were making so much money and I was so outspoken. And I was so outspoken about the use of the word bitch and slut and whore and skank nonstop. It was like my passion. I like hated it. There was I remember there's one scene where you were playing a guitar, Haley, and someone shouts from the audience, take it off. And I was just like, I was like, there's something about that. Like when you're up performing and someone reduces you to like, just yells like that. And they would like, but I always spoke up about that stuff.
I remember
and they were like, you're taking it too, blah, 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 blah.
You're
and
too
I think
sensitive.
It got a lot worse after I left. Because I feel like I like really did actually, like, I'm really proud of stuff I did police then.
Yeah. Because
it was always like, my stomach drops when I hear like slut and bitch and whore. So for them to, when they would use it, and especially there was so much like female against like negative stuff. And the narrative that girls throw themselves at boys when
they wish.
In reality, it's like,
what a fantasy.
There's nothing, there's like, it's the other way around. You know what I mean? For the most part.
Yeah.
But this like sexualized, like going after, like that was the character of Rachel. And then some of it came from the network too. It was like, we had 99% female following and their agenda was, how do we get boys to watch? How do we get boys to watch? Instead of supporting all these diehard fans that like are looking for identity. And then they would be like, oh, I know, let's have Rachel hold a basketball in front of her boobs and say game on. And it was like, first of all, like boys can find porn. Like, do you think they're going to tune into One Tree Hill so they can watch that? Like, can we just give story? Like, and it would break my heart because a lot of the girls were really young too. Like 13 and so
our fan base is still really young. We get like kids that are like, hi, I'm named Brooke. I'm named Haley. And
exactly.
I'm 12. And you're like, baby, don't watch this yet.
Don't watch yet, please.
I know.
Just
Even
wait.
my daughter's 11 and, she's in the room sometimes when I'm podcasting and whatever. And I'm a little like, oh, don't turn around. Don't watch them.
Our daughters were born like the same time, I think. My daughter's born in January of 2011.
So what was your experience like writing this episode?
So this episode, okay. So first of all, I thought that I was not going to get one because he kept putting it off. And part of what made the dynamic weird was I sold a pilot to Teen Nick at the time. And like, I'll be the first to admit, I was a little like big for my britch. Like I was kind of like, because the people in my ear were like, this show, you've got your own show, blah, blah. Of course that show, like it got greenlit and then it never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't know that when we're in our 20s. We're just like,
No.
I sold a show.
I was like, I'm the so I was a little bit getting, and I was also pissed because I was like, I'm here till 11 o'clock at night breaking, like I was doing like a lot of the story stuff. I will tell you all the stuff that I won't do this on thing because I'll look so bitter, but I came up with brooking because they were like, let's do it. And I go, you know what's something that has not been approached ever? I'm like, let's go to female masturbation. Can we do that?
Yeah, we don't even need to hook up with boys.
I was like, let's take it outside that. We did brooking. I did all the letters. Was my storyline, whatever. So anyway, I was supposed to write the episode before where Peyton's mom dies.
Okay.
And I was slotted in for that. And then the showrunner came to me and said, I'm going to give this to Stacy because her father had just died. And I was like, okay. And he goes, I'm going to give you the next one. It's going to be really fun. It looked horrible on paper. I'm not going to lie. It was like, this like what, like go to a and also I don't know if you noticed in this one, how much like product placement was crammed in.
Oh my God, yes.
So much.
Bevan and the body spray.
And like, let me play my song. And like the car, what was the car that you had to mention?
The PT Cruiser.
Yeah, we're in our PT Cruiser. And
I was like, why are we in this car? That's not
or the
Brooke's car.
sun-kissed in Rachel's fridge. Yeah.
oh, and can I give you my debit MasterCard so that you can maybe have no fee while you withdraw that from any ATM around the corner? It was brutal. And then also there was that weird spin-off storyline with was it the family when they go to
Texas
the dinner?
Battle, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Nathan's
meant
friend.
to maybe be a NASCAR spin-off.
What?
Yeah.
So that whole thing was crammed in there. And
Another NASCAR thing?
it was gonna be with his family. There was possibly a storyline there. So that made no sense and had to be
because they tried to make NASCAR happen the season before, and the deal
Right,
was
with
still
Michael
floating
Trucco.
around at the studio. So it was, if we combine, remember these guys, and then we do these guys, and this is the driver, and this guy will be the night security, and it'll be all these people that you've met over the course of these seasons of this show. And
it's not a bad idea to do that. I mean, like, I can see how that would be useful, but it just fell out of place with
For a writer, just like, cool, let me just clunk this in here real quick.
let me clunk this in here so you can sell a show.
Yeah, you don't have much time to do it and stuff like that. So
Weird.
So there was that. But then I feel
But I have a question because obviously, look, there's the politics of you being a young woman in a room. So you've gotten behind the first door, but they're still holding you at arm's length. They're dangling the carrot of, well, if you just do this well, and if you do this well, and if you make less money than everybody else in the room, but you don't complain about it, maybe we'll give you the episode that we promised you last season, but you'll get one this season. It's a bunch of bullshit. And it's something that I think is familiar to so many of us in so many arenas.
That carrot, man.
That carrot is infuriating. And as we all know, it happens to women in ways that it doesn't often happen to other people in corporate structures. I can go on ad nauseum about how if we actually had pay equity in America, the GDP of the entire nation would increase by 12 points like that. It would be great.
Girlfriend
but not
loves
the point,
numbers.
not the time.
Numbers.
I just love a number. But in the middle of all this like patriarchal political bullshit that you're dealing with as the youngest female employee in the room, you got this script, which I get in an outline, you said looked kind of like trash. You're like, how am I going to make this work? But you did.
You did.
And you wound up writing a show. We talked about by the end, when the three of us are dancing and all the pressure's off and these kids are just being kids, we were all crying watching.
You took us on such a great journey.
and it was magical.
So how did you do it?
Magical. It ended up being so magical. And here's so that last scene, like, is the whole, that's when, and she's like reflecting and being like, I want to be a kid. And just the way, and one thing that One Tree Hill does so good is those codas, those montages at the end, the music. And I was a big music person. So I made, like, it was funny. I remember one of the writers was like, everyone has to have their thing. Yours is music. Mine is sports. This guy's politics. Like, everyone has to have their own in. And like, and I genuinely do like music. And I always envisioned that scene with a very slow song, with a sad song. The song that I wanted to use was, I don't know if you guys, it's Red Right Ankle by the Decemberists.
Oh, that would have been a very different scene.
It would have been a very different thing.
Wow.
And it's like, but what I loved about it is it has this random line. Well, it has like such great lines, but like the last verse is like, this is the story of the man who loved you now, loved you then. And it was like, so I wanted that. I just gave myself a little chill. But then there's another line that made no sense, but it was like, this is the story of your gypsy uncle who you never knew because he was dead. And it was like this foreshadowing around Keith, and wanted to like, when they proposed to each other, I wanted that line to be there. And so I had this big vision, and he's like, I was there with you. I understand, but like, I want him, we need to keep it up and keep energy. And I was like, okay, and I think it still works, but I like wish I could have just even like edited that one just to see how that played out. Cause it was so like,
well, I'm sure we have a fan that can set it to that song for us. So somebody at home, why don't you post that on Instagram for us? That would be cool.
played it for myself and the thing, but like, and we had a really good time in the room, and the dynamic is weird. So it's like, the writers all get together and it's all on the board or whatever. And the showrunner would kind of come in after and be like, show me what you got.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd be like, so we have this and we have this. And there was one version that was earlier that we were really excited about that got slightly tweaked as well. But what stayed was that just like being able to hold on to the moment of your youth while it's happening, which is very hard because it's very easy. You look back and it's so easy to be so nostalgic. But when it's happening, it just, you know what I mean? It goes by and you aren't able to grasp it. You know how the subways in New York City have those like poems up sometimes?
Yeah.
That like,
to calm you down on the subway so you don't stab anybody. Yeah. I know those.
And I remember seeing one that was like not a particularly good poem, but it had some line that was like,
we won't tell the writer of that poem.
Yeah, whoever it was, if they listen to this and they'll recognize it. And it was like, when we die, I think heaven is going to be like our memories, not the way they happen, but the way we remember them. And it was just this very good nuance of like, it's not like that when it's happening, but sometimes it is. Every now and then, like the actual thing that's happening, you realize while it's happening. And that's such a gift. And I felt like that's what I wanted to capture. And I hope that I did.
I think that's why it felt so special.
Yeah.
I'm like such a nostalgic person, but that bit when you're drunk.
Oh yeah, my drunkie song?
Yeah. So the stars are crying for what we
yeah.
I got to write, I had to register that.
Are you
like
serious?
Yeah, because
cool.
like an original, it had to be an original line, an original tune, and I had to say it to David Paymer, or not David Paymer, whoever the director was.
David Paymer directed this one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so like that was really fun that I got to do that. It was really fun. In the beginning, the quote about being jealous of the angels, is a poem that a friend of mine wrote. Cool. That I put in. That was like, Sylvie, that poem you wrote about, and the name of that poem was The Endless Perfection of Your Absence. And she wrote a friend who died. So I got to incorporate so much that I'd been holding in for so long. Yeah. I also named everybody after all my friends. So Bevan Mursky is my good friend, Michelle Mursky. So when she was just in that horrible reason, I was like, Michelle Bevan Mursky, because she got named in that episode.
That's right. We never knew her last name before.
For some reason, she needed a last name.
I didn't know that happened in that episode. That's so great.
We have watched a lot of episodes at this point, and this one does rate very, very high because it feels most like a teenage girl's perspective. Right on the cusp of having to make these grown-up decisions. And like you said, like taking advantage of a moment while it's happening, not after. And so you being such a young person in the writer's room, one would think they would come to you and ask like, hey, what's it like to be a 16-year-old girl? Because, you know, not everyone in that room knew what that was like. Were you a sounding board for some of their ideas?
Oh, I mean, I was remotely the closest they had to a 16-year-old girl. I also had two younger sisters at the time, so I still do. So I was kind of tucked into
I've kept
more.
them.
So, but they would, no, I think that they relied on that a lot. And that's why I think I got like a chip on my shoulder, why I got like, you know, annoyed. It was so weird to look out and see that room. And it's 14 older men. It was very, very odd. By the way, here's a detail that is crazy, that in the room, and I don't think we didn't make this up, but in the room when everybody would we would break the story. So you'd break the scenes, you break the acts, you break the scenes. And then we would go off and people would get their own scene. So you'd get a scene of like what was going to happen, right? So say,
like from the outline, you mean?
Yeah, from the outline. And then
you'd have to go write the scene.
Fill it in. You get to write the dialogue. You get to write fun stuff that you want to happen in it. And when we would break that up, which by the way is illegal from the WGA, you're not supposed to do this, but we would break it up, but we would call it gang banging the outline.
Oh God.
Which is so uncomfortable when you're 15. Are we going to gang bang this? Are we going to gang bang the outline tonight?
Oh my God.
Little things little things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't know because you're so early in your career. You haven't worked necessarily in healthy places yet. So you just kind of assume like, oh, it's like this everywhere.
Right.
Know?
Yeah.
And then remember the whole thing that came out like with the Friends, it was the Friends assistant when she like was a whistleblower and she was like, listen, this is so like, this is what it's like in the room. And it does get really brutal in the room. And you had to be the kind of girl that could roll with that and would never get offended by that. And again, like, I don't care what you say, like, let's go there, let's go everywhere. But like, there's when we're making references to rape, then it gets weird, right? So like that doesn't make like a prude and like a whatever. I don't care what we say because like you are very open in that thing, you know, like acting and writing. It's different than my sister's a school teacher. When she came to the room at Warner Brothers, she's like, I can't believe the way you're allowed to speak. Like just and that there's
there is an expectation of more detail for any subject, more intimacy. You are creating intimate lives as actors and writers. But to Hilarie's point, when you've worked in more places, you know what healthy intimacy looks like versus unhealthy intimacy. And the kind of things you're referring to are deeply unhealthy.
Yeah, because you got to be able to be messy to be an artist and to create things. There has to be a space where you can say stupid things or do some or offend someone or whatever. There has to be space for that because you're creating something and there is a rawness and a vulnerability. But there's a way to do it that is healthy and considerate and where there's forgiveness and there's space to say, oh, I need to learn something here. Sorry, I totally stepped out of line. Didn't realize that. Apologies, I forgive you, let's move on. But when you're in an environment where everyone's just, it's like authoritarian and everyone's just expected to,
everybody's going to kiss the ring. Kiss the ring.
Exactly.
When you're in a room where there's 16 people and only 2 women and the men are throwing around terms like that, it's absolutely unhealthy and inappropriate.
Yeah.
Period.
You know what happened on my very first day? I came in, one of all the assistants were male and there was a PA. There was a writer, the first year who wasn't there. And the Paris Hilton sex tape had just come out.
Oh my God.
And they were all watching it.
At work.
And I had just met all these people and they were like, Anna, want to come? And it was like this test of like, and that a writer came out and he goes, what's going on?
Yeah.
And they were like, and he's like, not cool, guys, not cool. Now that writer, it turns out, is actually gay, but nobody knew. But I think that's interesting that it was like one gay male that was like, guys, not cool. This is like.
And is that the writer that left after that season?
He left after he was only the first season, I believe. Yeah. So I came in at the end of the first season or the beginning of the second season.
Yeah, that would make me want to run for the hills too. Just like,
I remember being like, this is so, and then just think about how far we've come that like how like aware everyone is of how unbelievably inappropriate that would have been. But I wonder if it still happens with young. I mean, we were all.
Of course it does. Of course it does. I mean, babe, when you talk about, what happened with the writer on Friends, you know how they make us do the sexual harassment seminar every year? At every studio, for our friends at home, you have to do this seminar about what's appropriate communication. This has always existed. And pre the Me Too story breaking in 2017, every single year that I was working at NBC, we would do the sexual harassment seminar. And they would say, and let us give you an example of what happens when a legal issue is risen. And they would give the example of the Friends writer talking about how the jokes about the sexually inappropriate jokes, the commentary about rape, and the racist commentary in the writer's room of that show made her feel very uncomfortable, and a lot of it felt pointed at her. And then they would tell us about how she lost, how the network's lawyers beat her in court. So it was, no one's allowed to speak to you in ways that make you uncomfortable, but if they do, we'll win. That was the messaging. And so when we talk about all of this and people say dumb shit, like, well, why didn't you just leave?
Why didn't you
do something? Yeah. First of all, as you said so well, Anna, it never starts there. It starts, everyone's cool, everyone's nice, people take you under their wing, they tell you they're going to mentor you.
They probably give you like a cool gift. Like, oh man, you want this iPod?
Effect.
You want this
maybe a nickname?
Yeah. Ooh,
and by the way, you were welcomed into a room where something very uncomfortable and inappropriate was happening, but someone in power stood up and said, absolutely not. Mm-hmm. So you go, whoa, that was weird, but they acknowledged it was weird, and okay, we're going to move on from that. It's also incremental, and everything happens in all these shades of gray. It's rarely ever black and white. It's easy to have the black and white examples after the fact. Mm-hmm. But I think, when we ask what happens these days, this is why we talk about a diversity of a requirement, really, for a diversity of the people in power. Because when there is more diversity in power positions, whether it's a corporate environment, a movie studio, a creative industry, there's less harassment, less unhappiness, more pay equity. Like, the data tells us it's possible to change it.
And it happens organically. You put
it does.
It wouldn't have been put on you as a 26-year-old to defend all the other girls on the show.
Yeah. You wouldn't have felt like it was you against the whole machine.
Yeah.
But, the reality is, if we want to build rooms that look more like the world, some of us have to go first. And you got a group of women on this Zoom who were all kind of first in that environment. Yeah. And it sucked for all of us.
For sure.
Right.
But
you also have that
tricky.
other unspoken thing about that too, is that, and this is what the Friends thing she brought, that there's not just 100, there's 1,000 people lined up to do your job.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You are so privileged to be there, and you see the resumes coming off the thing. And even though you're the lowest person on the totem pole, even though you're making 0.03% of the person who's doing the same thing, that people are lined up to have, and you're so lucky. So it's like,
you're replaceable is the drumbeat that I kept hearing. You're replaceable.
Yeah.
You're replaceable. You're replaceable.
Me too.
Anna, do you want to spin a wheel with us and do most likely to?
Yes.
Yes. I think we ought to. Let's see what we got this week. So do you know this thing that we do on the show, most likely to?
No, I don't think I've seen. Have I seen that? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we like school superlatives, yearbook things. We pick a most likely to topic, and then we have to pick a cast member and a character who fit the bill. So this week we have most likely to become a meme.
Oh my God, we were pre-memes too.
Girl, there's so many GIFs and memes from this episode. Sophia talked about it at the top.
There's that famous shot of the three of us hugging at the end of the stage, and then Hilarie in her sunglasses, and then the three of us doing the high kicks at the end. I mean, honestly, is this the episode? Instead of a character, is it episode 314 is the most likely to become a meme? I think you did it. I think you wrote it.
Queen Meme here. We have Queen Meme, Anna in the house. Yeah. Do you have a favorite One Tree Hill GIF or meme that you've seen floating around?
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I'll have to go look and take a deep dive. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anna, thank you so much. We'll talk more. And I'm glad that we're all on this healing journey together.
Me too, you guys.
Yeah, you wrote a kick-ass episode.
Thank you so much. And just the beginning. Can't wait to
I'm
do this with wine next time.
Up to read. That'll be fun.
Okay. Please do.
Awesome. Next week we have episode 15 from season 3. Just watch the fireworks.
I feel like that was Harrow and Strauss.
Sweet. Well, there are dudes.
We shall see.
All right.
Or James and Chad, one of the teams. All right. Bye, guys.
All right. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening.
Don't forget to leave us a review. You can also follow us on Instagram at DramaQueensOTH.
Or email us at dramaqueens@iheartradio.com. See you next time.
We're all about that high school drama girl, all about them high school queens. We'll take you for a ride in our comic girl, cheering for the right team. Drama queens, smart girl, rough girl, fashion but you're tough girl. You could sit with us, girl. Drama queens, drama queens, drama queens, drama queens, drama queens.